Hello everyone, this is week 6 Wednesday assignment and we are doing admission to SwampU University. So here is our data. X1 is in-state, X2 is out-of-state, and X3 is international students. And right here I have all of the goals. So the first goal is to have at least 1,200 freshmen. The second goal is average ACT score to be 25 at least. The third one is international students to be at least 10% of the total accepted. The next one is female to male ratio to be at least 75%, and I did this as a ratio based on the problem. And the last one is the number of out-of-state students to be at least 20% of the total. So solving those equations and adding the deviation variables, instead of S sub I, and I use D for deviation. And you can see that I added the deviation going down and up to each of them and set them equal, most of them, to 0. So based on this, I will plug all this in Torah and see what is our first constraint gonna be. So we have 13 variables and 5 constraints, and I'm naming it A because that is our first goal. And our first goal would be to minimize the deviation under 1,200 freshmen. So it's a very big table. I'll just keep a couple of minutes on it so you can see what I put where. And then I'm gonna see what the solution is. So as you can see, we have 420 in-state, 240 out-of-state, and 540 international. And we also have 420 more foreign students and also extra on the male to female ratio. So using this and plugging it back into the original, now we have 13 variables and 6 constraints. Using that, the deviation was 0, and plugging it as a 6 constraint, we are getting that table. So it is the same table as before. 1 through 5 are the same, and we are just adding 6, making X4, which was our D sub 1 with the negative superscript equal to 1. And I'll just solve it in a second and see if our data changed. So our data stayed the same, the number of students are the same, however our deviation have changed. And we have X8, 66, and X11 at 259.80. So keep going with that. We still had a 0 deviation for B. We are getting to C, and now we have 13 variables and 7 constraints. And we are doing the same table for the first 5 constraints. And we are just adding the 6th as before for D sub 1 subscript negative and D sub 2 subscript negative, both equal to 0. Everything else in the table is the same as before. So our results have changed, even though we don't have any deviation on the third step. For the international students, right now we only have in-state, which is 600, and international, which is also 600. And we can see also that we have more international than we wanted. The ratio is not complete. And also we don't have any out of state, so we are 120 under. Plugging that back in, I know it's a long process and it's going over and over again. We have 13 variables with 8 constraints, and that will be our D solution. And again, the first 5 constraints are the same, and we are adding 6, 7, and 8 equal to 0 respectively for D sub 1 negative, D sub 2 negative, and D sub 3 negative. Which are x4, x6, and x8 in this case. So the results changed again, and now we have 796.52 in-state, 240 out-of-state, and 163.48 international students. And we also have 2 other deviations, which I'm gonna summarize at the end. Again, our deviation is again 0, and we're gonna get this result and plug it into the original LP and do part E now with 9 constraints. So as you can see, the table is the same, 1 to 5, and then 6, 7, 8, and 9, we just plugged in 0 for each of the new constraints. So our final solution, let me just move it a little bit, stay the same. Again, the deviation is 0, and we have 796.52. I know that this is a decimal, just round it later. 240 and 163.48, and again we have 2 deviations that I can explain later when we sum up the results. So summing up the results, I rounded the in-state to 797. Out of state, we're gonna have 240. And international, we're gonna have 163. And we saw that the first deviation gives us a higher ACT score, and the second one more international students. And we're just checking if all of our goals are met, and I did all the calculations. So the second goal is met for the ACT score to be over 25, and the only thing that is a little bit under, and I think it's because of rounding, is that we did not do the ratio exactly, but we are very close on the ratio. So let's switch to Swampland University question 2, part A, where it says that the ACT score goal is twice as important as anything else, and before that the admission is already met. So we see that we get the same result as we did before, with the same standard deviation and everything. So nothing changed. The goals are met, except for the little under number for the ratio. And now for part B, we already did this on our first and second step, and I just took the results from there. So for part B, we're gonna have 420 in-state, 540 international, and 540 international, and the only thing that here we did not meet the ratio goal. So that affects our solution to the problem if the goals are being in a different way. Thank you so much for watching, and I have 2 more videos coming.